Hello, my name is Steve Warmby. I'm a primary mental health worker at a psychology and wellbeing service in Jersey. This short video called The Window of Tolerance is aimed for adults working with children and young people. That might be parents or school-based staff or other professionals. And it's really important that we begin by focusing on ourselves. We know that if our resources are depleted, then it's very difficult to effectively support others. So I'll be leading you through a number of slides and discussing some strategies that you can use in order to look after ourselves. So the first thing we'll be talking about is what is the window of tolerance? And then to recognize when we're moving outside of the window of tolerance, to have strategies to return ourselves back in there. And then finally, we'll be talking about the healthy mind platter as a way of cultivating well-being. So why start with the adults? Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson, in their new book, The Power of Showing Up, use the acronym PEACE when describing how to most effectively soothe a child or young person. And the PEACE stands for P is presence, and that's physically showing up. E, engagement, using eye contact, gestures, tone of voice, intensity of interaction, and the timing of the interaction. So we know that 93% of our communication is non-verbal, and we're having to really sort of bring that to the present moment when we're interacting with others. A, and then for affection, is that showing of warmth or love, kindness. And then C, for calm, being steady. And even if the interaction might be difficult or the young person is really struggling with their emotions, it's really important that we can still remain steady. And then E, for empathy. This might be cognitive empathy, where you're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, or emotional empathy, where you're really resonating with how that other person is feeling. And this quote is by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk and peace activist. He said, when the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats met with storms or pirates, if everyone panicked, all would be lost. But even if one person on the boat remained calm and centered, it was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. So, window of tolerance is coined by Dan Siegel, and it's the optimal zone of arousal where we're able to function and thrive in everyday life. So in this graphic, you can see it in the middle, window of tolerance. This is where we're able to be flexible in our thinking, we're able to maintain relationships, we're able to flourish. At this point, our sort of thinking mind is online. We're able to plan, organize, our attention is good. However, if we start to move outside of that zone, so maybe into hyperarousal where we activate that fight or flight response in the body, then our attention starts to go. We're not able to focus. We might feel angry, we might feel anxious, we might just feel overwhelmed. Or we could shift the other way into hypoarousal, which is the freeze response, where we just feel that we're shutting down, closing off, might be very little energy, feeling very tired, might be feeling low. So we all have different windows based on a number of factors. So our previous experiences, our neurobiology, the way we're wired, social support, and the coping skills that we've developed over the years. Not only do our windows differ to other people, but also they can change from day to day. So depending on how we're doing, you might notice the window of tolerance is a little narrower. And in this current climate with COVID-19, the chances are that many people's windows will be narrower at this point. So how wide is the river? This graphic here, you can show it from 1 to 10, but also in different colours. And the window, when we're in the window, it's sort of between 4 and 7, represented by green and yellow. As we start to go more down to 1, 2, and 3, we're starting to close off. This is also represented by the colour purple, starting to feel that we're shutting down. On the other extreme, when we get to 8, 9, and 10, the colour red, we start to go into hyperarousal. So we need to sort of be aware of where we are at different times during the day in order to help regulate ourselves. So the STOP acronym is used in acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. The S stands for slow down. So this is about how we can start to build awareness during the day. We can slow down in a number of ways. One, we can just be pushing our feet into the floor. So if we're standing or sitting, nobody needs to know we're doing it, but we're just feeling, sensing the soles under our feet. We can be doing similar with our hands, clasping our hands together and really feeling the pressure of direct experience. We might stretch the body, or we might just be focusing on the breath and deliberately slowing the breathing down. When we're actually focused on body sensations, we're in the present moment. When we're in our thoughts, we're often thinking about the future or thinking about the past. So our body provides a very good anchor to stop us, slow us down. Once we've done that, then the T is for taking note. So we might begin by noticing what's around us, but then also our internal landscape. What am I noticing in terms of my sensations right now, or any thoughts, any emotions that are present, and also any urges. The O then is to give room. For whatever the experience is allowing it to be here as best we can, trying to avoid judging, just noticing. And then that reduces the resistance, which often causes more suffering. And then finally, the P is to pursue value. So it's really thinking about, what is it that I want to stand for in life? How do I want to show up? And values might be things such as I want to be kind or supportive, caring, loving. I might want to be creative or industrious. So it's really important to try and think about what is it that you really want to stand for. And having this pause gives you the opportunity just to respond more skillfully. So how can we expand the window of tolerance? So first of all, it's the foundation, sleeping well. We know that if we don't sleep very well, we're going to be more irritable. So if we have a number of nights without sleep, the window is going to get smaller and smaller. So getting good night's sleep is a really important thing. Obviously, eating well, getting enough exercise, management of pain or illness. If we have a headache or stomach ache, we know we're going to be more irritable or less tolerant of our emotions. And then also management of chronic stress. And that might be through talking to someone that we trust, or it might be about problem solving. It might be getting some help if there's something that we need to work on. So if we do move outside of our window of tolerance, how do we get back? So when we are outside, if we're hyper-aroused or hypo-aroused, then the thinking brain is offline. It's not active. We therefore need to soothe the lower levels, such as the brainstem and the limbic area. We can do that in a number of ways. So one of the first things we can think about is using the 5 senses. This is the language of the brainstem. So sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. But also effective mechanisms is using the breath and also movement, and sometimes in combination. So some ideas for using the senses. One of the things that we can do is to sense the support beneath us. If we're standing, feeling our feet on the floor, feeling supported by the floor. If we're in a sitting position, feeling the chair supporting us. This can be really grounding for us. We can also begin just by wiggling our toes to get sensations in our feet if we don't feel them very clearly. And especially if we're hyper aroused, where we're feeling that we're shutting down, we might just start off with some very small movements, such as wiggling the toes, and then starting to increase the movement over time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is used quite a lot within schools. And this is using, again, those 5 senses. So 5 things that you can see. So deliberately looking around, noticing and silently labeling 5 things you can see in your environment. 4 things then that you can feel. And often we don't even need to move in order to feel 4 things. So it might be the chair beneath you, it might be the touch of clothing or the watch strap or necklace. But also we can actually reach for things and hold something, touch it, feel the temperature and the texture. And 3 things that we can hear. So focusing on the sounds perhaps within the room, maybe even the sound of our own breath, but also then sounds perhaps outside of the room, just noticing what we can hear. 2 things that we can smell or imagine the smell of. So we might have the smell of soap on our hands, or we might have the smell of perfume or aftershave. But if we don't have the smells in our environment, then we can just imagine perhaps a favourite smell, something like freshly baked bread, or walking past the laundrette, or coffee, or whatever it might be. And then one thing that we can taste or imagine the taste of. So we might have something to hand, we can sort of taste it. We might have a residual taste, such as toothpaste, or if we just drink something or had something to eat, or we can imagine something that would be tasty and pleasant. We might actually then go and have a drink if we can, or some food. Playing music, so it could be very soothing, and depending on the individual, some people like classical music, other people like something different. And then soothing touch. So many people are naturally soothed when being hugged by another that's they're close to. And we can do the same for ourselves through contacting with touch. So often it might be in the heart area, or on the belly, or any other part of the body. We feel the contact of our hand, we feel the warmth of our hand, and then we might have some soft vocalizations internally, recognizing this is a difficult moment, but we can be there for ourselves. This produces oxytocin just in the same way as it would do if we were hugged by someone else. For some people, it feels very awkward and it may take a little bit of time. And then the use of water. So some people having cold water splashed on the face can be very sort of soothing, or maybe the opposite, having some warm water can be soothing. So using the breath. The breath is so helpful for us in terms of regulating our emotions. It naturally triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, when we breathe out longer than we breathe in. Some people find the breath quite difficult to focus on, especially if they have a lot of anxiety, or maybe they have a history of trauma. So we can be gentle with the breath, and if it's too difficult to use, then you can just focus on some of the other things. 7-11 breathing is where you count in, or 7 as you breathe in, and then as you breathe out, you're breathing out for a count of 11. You can change it sometimes, especially with younger children who might use 3 and 5. But if you breathe out longer, then you're triggering this parasympathetic nervous system, which can feel very calming. Diaphragmatic or belly breathing, and this is allowing the full capacity of your lungs. So you're breathing all the way down. And as you breathe in, then your diaphragm moves down, and then your belly rises. As you breathe out, you allow your belly to fall. So we can practice this by placing a hand on the belly area. As we breathe in, we allow the belly to expand, and then as we breathe out, we allow the belly to fall. Again, this is a really good one for calming. Square breathing combines the breath, regulating the breath, but also with distraction. So in this case, we may either imagine a square, or we might notice something that looks square shaped. It might be a picture on the wall or a mirror or a window. And you start off on one corner and you just breathe in along the length of one side. And then when you reach the other corner, you hold your breath as you move down. Then you breathe out to the next corner, hold your breath until you get to the start. And then you continue breathing in, holding your breath, breathing out, holding your breath, and so on. Finger breathing, again, it combines touch with the breath, and also it can be a visual thing. So here you have your hand, and you just trace in from the bottom of the thumb, you breathe in to the top, and then you breathe out. And then you breathe in, and then you breathe out. In and out. In and out. In and out. And then you can do it on the other hand. Another one then is rolling a pen in the palms whilst breathing. So you just get a pen between. As you roll it, you breathe in, and then you breathe out. Again, this can be soothing, combining the breath, but also the sensation of touch. And then using movement. And this can be walking if we have the opportunity to walk. Shaking some of the excess energy out or stomping. Stretching the body. Progressive muscular relaxation, which is where you're tensing different muscle groups and then releasing. And again, we can combine this with the breath. So as we tense, we breathe in. And then as we breathe out, we then release. We just need to be careful with progressive muscular relaxation if you have high blood pressure. And if that's the case, then you might just do it very lightly or just imagine the movement. And also if you have any injuries or recent surgery, then you just avoid those areas. But again, research shows that this has a relaxation effect on the body, which then has a relaxation effect on the mind. And then palm the present moment, which again is a very slowed movement, which we can do. And again, with our hands, the first thing is we're just going to touch the little fingertips and notice the sense of touch there. And then the fingertips of the ring fingers, and holding in awareness both the fingertips at the same time. Then the middle fingers, the index fingers, and then the thumbs. And again, noticing all at once sensations of touch on the fingertips. And then we can just bring the hands together, feel the warmth of the palms, noticing the fleshy parts, the bony parts of the hands. And again, we can just push them against each other, notice the tension in our hands and our arms and our shoulders. And then releasing the pressure, keeping all of the fingertips together, just parting the palms, notice the change in temperature, and then just releasing the fingertips. And again, that's a good one just to start to slow down. So these practices, if we're in a situation, perhaps we're in the classroom and we're noticing that we actually need to get back into our window of tolerance, we can use it as a exercise for the whole classroom. And we can model. We might say, I'm noticing that my nervous system is a little out of whack right now, so I'm going to do some shaking. I'm going to do some stretching. And if anybody wants to join me, then please do. So the Healthy Mind Platter. So we've discussed strategies and approaches for supporting the self to return to the window of tolerance. The Healthy Mind Platter then is a framework that can be used to help maintain our well-being. And this is based very much on the healthy food plate, where we're thinking about the different nutrients that we need to keep well physically. And it's based on the same principle. So it's developed by David Rock and Dan Siegel. It's based on neuroscience, clinical practice, behavioral research, and psychology. And it identifies 7 areas which strengthen the brain's internal connections, strengthens connecting with other people, and improves integration. And integration leads to well-being. So everyone is different. So the balance of these different areas will be different in different people. But we do need, in terms of our mental health and well-being, we do need part of all of these. So the first one, which we've mentioned before, is sleep. And time for exercise, physical time, focus time, play time. Even as adults, we need that. Connecting time, downtime, and then time in. So we'll have a look at these. So sleep, when we give the brain the rest it needs to consolidate learning and recover from the experiences of the day. Sufficient sleep helps concentration, emotional well-being, and learning. Physical time, when we move our bodies aerobically if possible, it strengthens the brain in many ways. It improves our mood, reduces stress and anxiety, and increases focus. Focus time, when we closely focus on tasks in a goal-orientated way, taking on challenges that make deep connections in the brain. Things like concentrating on solving problems, teaching, studying. It's where we're concentrating and focus for a period of time. And playtime, when we allow ourselves to be spontaneous and creative, playfully enjoying novel experiences, which helps make new connections in the brain. Joking, being silly, having fun. And we could be doing this with children if we have our own children, or just using our hobbies in a way to express ourselves and to find some creativity. Connecting time, which has been very, very difficult during the pandemic. When we connect with other people, ideally in person, or take time to appreciate our connection to the natural world around us, which is activating the brain's relational circuitry. And Dan Siegel talks about 3 Gs when relating to the planet. And that's being grateful, generous, and then giving back. And then downtime, when we're non-focused without any specific goal, let our mind wander or simply relax. This allows the brain to recharge. So this is a sense of just chilling out. And it's an important part of consolidating learning. And then time in, when we quietly reflect internally, focusing on sensations, images, feelings and thoughts, and helping to better integrate the brain. An example of this is the stop that we did at the beginning, where we're just slowing down and checking in, noticing what our experience is in that moment. And mindfulness is a great way to develop this, as well as other self-awareness activities like keeping a journal. So we've gone through those 7 areas, and then it's just about thinking, is there an area where perhaps I need to spend a little bit more time or a little bit less time, trying to get a well-rounded, balanced mind platter. So in summary, we all have a window in which we're able to function effectively with focused work, hobbies, and within relationships. And this is different for each of us and can change from day to day. Importantly, we can become more aware of our window and our edges, and we can develop greater space. When we notice we've moved into a dysregulated state, we can use strategies to bring us back into the window. Using our senses, the breath and movement can help us. A healthy mind platter provides a framework for maintaining well-being and mental health. When supporting someone else, we need to start with ourselves. When we are regulated, we're then able to support the regulation of another. And our ability to be truly present is crucial for the other person to feel safe and connected. So we start with ourselves, we resource ourselves, we bring that sense of calmness in ourselves, in our interactions, and then that has a ripple effect when we're supporting others. So the Psychology and Wellbeing Service have recently put together a number of wellbeing packs on different subjects, such as sleeping well and mindfulness. And then there's some other references which may be of use. So I'm hoping that there'll be something helpful in this video, and thank you for watching.